We began the Lotus Sutra on last Thursday. We're going to continue it today. I'm going to do a little backing up because some people were here and some people weren't. The door's getting closed. This is great. Somehow this whole process is fascinating me. Now we'll have to see how the temperature is too. And yeah. So if you're in the practice period, Constance has printed out some contact sheets information. You could pick up one. It was sent out online too. You can also sign up for small teas by being, Constance is here. I'm so used to Constance being over the, just have to keep reorienting in this world. Constance our Shuso is going to give a Dharma talk on Thursday. We'll start with the parables, the burning house, which is a really famous one. And I think, did I get everything? Yeah. Wow. Cool. Okay. I didn't bring all my different Lotus Sutra books. I brought the Lotus Sutra by Jean Reeves, which I'm going to read some of the Lotus Sutra to you because it says that if you recite the Lotus Sutra, you're covered for across lifetimes. So this is completely self-involved. No. And I also brought part of Dogen's Shobogenzo because Dogen revered the Lotus Sutra, and actually I off the top of my head the Dharma flower turning the Dharma flower, but also only a Buddha and a Buddha. He wrote fascicles that are completely grounded in the Lotus Sutra. So I'm hoping we have a little bit of time to just jump off from the Lotus Sutra into Dogen so you can see the influence, feel the influence. Because you'll see, and will continue to see, that the teaching of the Lotus Sutra is you cannot intellectually get this. I mean, please, use your brains. We all have good brains. But to really understand and deeply penetrate the Dharma and be penetrated by the Dharma, it is an intuitive, Suzuki Roshi used that word, body, embodied. The whole world is Buddha's body. Please be in this very body. And enter. It keeps saying it's going to teach you something. It says in the very beginning, I forgot to say that last Thursday, is that the Buddha, well anyway, we'll get back to that. But it never teaches, it keeps saying, now I'm going to do it, now I'm going to do it. But it's already happening is what the message is. It's all here to help you wake up to what's already here. So a little bit of backup. Wonderful Dharma Lotus Flower Sutra, or the Dharma Flower Sutra. The lotus symbolizes the lotus in the mud. We famously know Thich Nhat Hanh, no mud, no lotus. It's the Lotus Sutra. And it's a symbol of working in the world, being in the world. Not, I think I'll turn into a lotus and get up above this world. No, it's rooted right here, and it's what the lotus grows out of, which is reminder. It's a religious inspirational text. It's devotional. It's theatrical. There are parables, and the whole thing is it's set in a time where you didn't have TV, and you didn't. It was so that it could be accessible to everybody. It's like probably the way Shakespeare was in the beginning. It's not like highbrow. It was enter into it, please. They say, I tend to believe them, is that when Buddha was first enlightened, the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is a really far out sutra, which I keep vowing we'll do something with I love the Avatamsaka Sutra, was the first. Then it was like, whoa, that's a little too far out there, Buddha, would you please just ground this? Then there was Theravada, which is the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. I mean, it was he really grounded it. Then that got maybe a little too strict, and then the Mahayana, the Prajnaparamita, and the emptiness teachings was, yeah, well, you may think you have it, and if you get it right, then you'll be an arhat, which we'll get to in a minute. But it was, no, everything is empty of any inherent self-existence, and it's not what you think. And then the final teaching was, because then there was, well, who's really got it? The Theravada, the Hinayana, the Mahayana, and the teaching of the Lotus Sutra is one vehicle. It's all of the above. It always has been. And you really, if you enter it through the mind of duality and divisions, I mean, please, that's the world, and there's a historical dimension. The first part of the sutra is right here on earth. Then the ultimate dimension, which is everything rises up and it gets woo, and it's already been kind of woo down here on earth because they're kind of Buddhas already starting to alter reality as we not alter it, but help us enter it. And then the third dimension is the action dimension, which is, okay, now come back down on earth. And what are you going to do, bodhisattvas, now that you understand? Then I was going to tell you what you understand, and then I thought, I don't think I'll go there. I think we'll just keep going. Because that's what we're here to keep turning and being turned by. So, the first key teaching, just to give you an overview, is we all think Shakyamuni Buddha. Only Buddha. One Buddha. And Shakyamuni Buddha doesn't want to have anything to do with that. You thought Shakyamuni Buddha was one person. And Shakyamuni Buddha is the Buddha of our era. But there have always been Buddhas, and there are Buddhas everywhere, and there will always be Buddhas. And in fact, all of you are waking up to be Buddha, and this world is so much all-inclusive and whole and alive than you could even begin to imagine. So we put our trust and our faith in Buddha nature. Buddha waking up to be Buddha. Goodness waking up to manifest goodness and wholeness and love. And we sit Zazen to manifest that. Zazen is, Dogen taught, you don't sit Zazen to become a Buddha. When you sit Zazen, when you sit fully at one with yourself and the whole world, you are a Buddha. It's already here. That's what we're waking up to. So the goal is not to overcome suffering, but the highest goal is joy and peace. And that's what the Lotus Sutra is all about. Is if you really understood deeply well, you'll see. Everybody's celebrating because it takes them so far beyond what anybody thought this world was about. And that there's a sense of peace in it because everything and everybody is completely in its place and always has been. So there's one vehicle. Buddha's going to tell us that over and over again. How it's manifested is through skillful means. You sit down, you get up. Skillful means is what do you do next? So there's going to be parables and teachings to help us understand, and the reassurance that Buddha is here in multiple embodiments. So whatever we're worried about, trust me, I worry a lot. The world looks pretty, plenty to worry about. And on some fundamental level, Oh, it's okay, and it always has been okay, and always will be okay. And I say that as someone who it's really not okay. And somehow being able to sit in this deep place and know it and taste it allows me to keep entering the world over and over with an open heart and deep eyes. So it's a process. It's a dynamic process. It's happening all the time. We're all part of it. There's no over there. There is, of course, over there. There is, of course, Israel and Palestine over there, and it's right here. So how we be and how we practice, we are deeply resonant and interconnected. Okay. The sutra has both prose and verse. The verse was the original. I'm going to read you a little bit of both. There are some chapters that were added later. It begins on Vulture Peak. Oh, I was going to tell you, it begins on Vulture Peak, which is a little rock in India. I mean, I've been there. I mean, it's you know, it's big. But it's not as big as what we're told, as that there are thousands of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and kings and queens and lay people, and it's just, there's just no way all those people could fit there. So clearly we're both in the historical dimension, but it's opening to something much bigger. When I was on Vulture Peak, I had said it's in a really poor part of India now, and there's a lot of crime and you think, this is Vulture Peak? I mean, I tell you it's Vulture Peak. But I remembered we climbed out, and then we must have come back, and there was a little Burmese woman sitting, and they do this in Burma. They put gold leaf on the statues. They rub it in the temples and everything. And she was there putting gold leaf on the rock. And there was something about her faith that still sits with me. Is this may look like just a rock, but it's gold. And she was just bringing forward what was already there. Okay, so there's all these beings. It's like it opens up, and you have the feeling something really special is about to occur, and then the Buddha delivers the Mahayana Sutra called Sutra of Immeasurable Meanings, Sutra of Immeasurable Meanings, but it doesn't tell you what it is. It doesn't say, okay, now here it is, blah, 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 blah. It just says that he preaches it, and then he enters into this meditative state. And while he's sitting there, just completely present, just like we were and are, flowers rain from the sky and the earth quakes and all these wonderful things begin to appear. And then he sends a light ray out of his forehead and illuminates the world so that everybody can see what the Buddha knows all the time, is that there are worlds within worlds. And that in each world there's a Buddha giving a Dharma talk. I just, because this is the way my mind goes. I mean, we're talking about cosmic realms, but I just thought, well, maybe leaves are giving other leaves Dharma talks. I mean, of course they are on some level. And bumblebees are going around doing bumblebee Dharma talks to other bumblebees. Ellen would really love that. So it's like the Dharma really is singing everywhere. If you could just open your eyes and your ears, and if you think the equinox, no, what just happened? The eclipse. If you think that's not a Dharma talk, it's like open your eyes and your ears. So anyway, Buddha is illuminating all of this. And then one of the great bodhisattvas, Maitreya, says, why is all this going on? even bodhisattvas, it's like, huh? Come on, Buddha. And Manjushri, another great bodhisattva, says, The Buddha wants to give a great teaching and to send down the rain of Dharma. The Buddha is going to rain and is raining down the rain of Dharma on all of us. And in fact, this happened before, and it happened with sun and moon Buddhas. It's been going on forever, and today's just a repetition. It's like, and you're so lucky to be here, but you know what? It's like, this is really special, and don't think you're so special. These are just light rays happening all the time. And never for a moment has the Buddha stopped preaching the Dharma, nor will the Buddha stop. So, we're completely here, just you and me, Buddha on Vulture Peak. There are worlds and world systems within world systems beyond anything that we can imagine. And the Buddha has always been preaching and singing. The whole world has been singing and preaching beyond anything we can imagine, the Dharma, and always will. The more you have trust and faith, really is about trust and faith, not like dumb trust and faith. There is something in this practice. We don't like to use the word faith, I think, because it triggers old religious upbringings. It's not faith in something, but there is some body of faith. It doesn't make any sense, but it's like, why do you show up here every week? Why do you sit zazen? I mean, excuse me, but what a kind of dumb thing to do. No. But there's some kind of faith where you bow to your cushion and you sit down and you stand up, and there's something that begins to touch us all the way through. Okay, so now I'm going to do chapter 2. That was chapter 1. So I want to do a little, you're going to need these terms as we go along. These are technical Buddhist terms, because it's what the Buddha is saying. Buddha is assuming everybody knows this. It's like everybody, like we would assume everybody knows what a Democrat and a Republican is. I mean, in that period of time, there were Shravaka and Prajika Buddhas. So a Shravaka Buddha means hearer or voice hearer, and portrays a traditional Buddhist monk, disciples who entered a monastery, took vows, practiced really deeply, and the intention was to wake up as an arhat. It's a really beautiful practice. It's Theravadan practice, and it exists there to this day. But I don't think is divided between Hinayana and Mahayana as we think. In fact, I'm sure of it. So, an arhat is a worthy one who has, nothing more to learn. Has escaped rebirth in realms of lower existence, many lifetimes of strenuous work, and awakened through teachers. And people were really revered, and monks were supported, and I mean it's beautiful to observe the kind of devotion that happens in Southeast Asian countries. So those are Shravaka Buddhas. The Prajika Buddhas were called self-enlightened ones, beings who have won an understanding of the truth through their own efforts. So they didn't like find a teacher, and they didn't practice and study. It's maybe they wandered around in the woods and they had big experiences, but they didn't have a teacher or the teachings. It just kind of happened spontaneously, which is kind of a beautiful teaching that it just happens spontaneously too. But there was a really great faith that this was the only way to do it, and you had to do it through some effort or some there was something you were supposed to do. And then the Bodhisattva, the Mahayana, came, and everyone is called. Oh, the thing about the Shravaka and the Prajika Buddhas is I'm pretty sure even with the Prajika Buddha, is that true? I was going to say, I know Shravakas, you had to be a monk. A Prajika Buddha, maybe you didn't have to be a monk, but you certainly just weren't like a normal person in your everyday life. But what happens with the Mahayana and the Bodhisattvas is everybody is a child of the Buddha. Everybody. This like blows people away, and in fact, you'll see when the Buddha reveals this, is 5,000 monks walk out. It's like, hey man, I've been working really hard on this. Maybe it's like going to Harvard and then people telling you there's no Harvard or something. It's like people leave, which is in many ways they come back later. That's it. It's okay. So because of course they come back, but at the time it's like this is way too much. Okay, so now we have Shakyamuni Buddha has lit up all the world systems and comes out of samadhi and says to Shariputra. Now, another thing about the Lotus Sutra that's really, I hope you're enjoying this a little bit, is that Shariputra is like the fall guy in all of the early teachings. Like Shariputra was, well, in the Mahayana Sutras, Shariputra, who was a really smart disciple who like knew all the teachings and was the really, like shiny one, is in Mahayana, he gets made fun of a lot. So in this one, though, Shakyamuni speaks to Shariputra because the teaching of the Lotus Sutra is nobody's going to get left out. Nobody. Whatever you think is over there and not you is sorry. You've always been a Buddha, and you're waking up to be a Buddha. So here, let me read you a little bit here now. Chapter 2, Skillful Means. At that time, the world-honored one rose calmly from concentration and said to Shariputra, "The wisdom of Buddhas is both profound and immeasurable, and the gateways to this wisdom are hard to understand and hard to enter. No Shravaka or Prajika Buddha can apprehend it." And it's going to be said over and over again, this is really hard to apprehend. Why is this? It is because every Buddha has been closely associated with hundreds of thousands of billions of Buddhas in the past, fully practicing the way of the immeasurable Dharma of all the Buddhas, boldly and diligently working. They have become famous everywhere, fulfilling the very profound, unprecedented Dharma and teaching it whenever opportunities arose. Yet their intention is difficult to grasp. What's making them do this? What's happening here? And then he goes on and on to say it's very hard to grasp what's really going on here. What the Buddha has achieved is most rare and difficult to understand. Only among Buddhas can the true character of all things be fathomed. This is because every existing thing has such characteristics, such a nature, such an embodiment, such power, such action, such causes, such conditions, such effects, such rewards and retributions, and yet such a complete fundamental coherence. So it's completely hard to understand because everything thinks it has its own self, when in fact everything is already perfect, whole, and complete. This is very hard to really. I have glimpses. I have faith. I know I'm a Buddha waking up to be Buddha. But to really, did you sometimes wonder what it would be like to walk around in a Buddha world? Mm-hmm. Where it's radiant and alive and dynamic. And you just bow to each person and each thing because it's Buddha. Okay, so the wisdom of the Buddha is profound and difficult to understand, and this warning is repeated frequently throughout the Lotus Sutra. And what it says in essence, let me read you a little bit here. Only through the power of skillful means does the Buddha reveal it. Though all beings have various attachments, he leads them to liberate themselves. So everything is here to help us wake up from our self-centeredness, essentially. Which you can't know with your small, limited mind. And we have to study and pay attention. So the Buddha's saying all of this, and then, this is a really wonderful place, is Buddha says, no, that's enough. I can't keep going on like this. And Shariputra begs him 3 times to keep going. So that's the thing in Buddhism is there's an admonition of, like, if somebody says, would you please explain this to me, or would you please this, or please, you wait until somebody asks 3 times. It's like, this is not a proselytizing tradition here at all. It's like, do you really want to, it's like, you kind of have a sense, well, somebody's here, and maybe they're going to wander out, maybe they're going to wander back again, and then they come back again. And so there's something really beautiful about asking 3 times. So the Buddha says, yes, okay, I'm going to keep going. That's when the 5,000 people walk out. And then he continues teaching, which I'm going to continue doing for just a little bit here. And Shariputra, listen carefully. The Dharma gained by the Buddhas is taught for the good of living beings through the power of countless skillful means. With a variety of explanations, parables, and other kinds of expression, through the power of skillful means, the Buddha causes all to rejoice. He teaches sutras, poetry, story of disciples' previous life, stories of Buddha's previous lives, and of unprecedented things, as well as causal explanations, parables and similes, verses which repeat them, and passages of dialogue. By devising such skillful means, I have enabled them to enter Buddha wisdom. I never before said, all of you will be able to achieve the Buddha way. All of you will be able to achieve the Buddha way. It's completely impossible, and all of us. The reason I never said this was that the time was not yet ripe, but now is the right time to teach the great vehicle definitively. I adapt it to the living beings when I teach them. It's like, what does each person need? They are children of Buddha. Everyone is a child of Buddha, pure-hearted, gentle, and bright. Everybody. Take that one in. Everybody. Just may not look that way, and the time may not be ripe. Buddhas appear in this world for this one reason only. The only reason, and the other 2 ways are not genuine. You should know, Shariputra, I originally took a vow, wanting to enable all beings to be equal to me without any distinctions. The Buddha wants us all to be Buddhas so that the world can manifest the Buddha realms. Every time I meet living beings, I teach them only the Buddha way. Those of little wisdom would be perplexed and confused and would never accept my teachings, but skillful means. With the power of skillful means, I reveal it. I teach the one vehicle way. Now, everyone, please let go of your doubts. There are so many ways that I teach. Here are the different ways, some of the different ways. Children, people who paint Buddha images, little children at play draw images of Buddha. Some people make offerings. Some people sing. Some people perform music. Some people worship by prostrating themselves. Some merely by putting their hands together. Others with a slight nod of the head. You want to try that? Slight nod of the head. Buddha's watching. A little slight nod of the head. All of the Tathagatas, all of the Buddhas use innumerable skillful means to save all beings so that they enter the Buddha's flawless wisdom. This is the original vow of every Buddha. And it ends with, for all of these, the one vehicle way should be praised everywhere. It should be understood, Shariputra, that the Dharma of the Buddha is like this. With trillions of skillful means in accord with what is good, they teach the Dharma. Those who have not practiced and study it cannot fully understand this until you fully enter and give yourself over and over and over again. You can't figure it out. It's continuous practice. It's Dogen's continuous practice. But all of you, knowing that the Buddhas, the teachings of the world, the teachers of the world use skillful means according to what is appropriate, should have no doubt. Your doubts should be filled with great joy, for you know that you too will become a Buddha. You're not jumping up and down in your seats.
Digesting.
You can't be outside of this. I mean, that's an amazing teaching. And you don't have to do anything to deserve it. It's already true. And to just keep coming back to that over and over and over again. So let me, I'm just going to read you, not much, I promise. This is from Dogen, Only Buddha and Buddha. Yubitsu Yobutsu. Buddha Dharma cannot be known by a person. No ordinary person can know it. Because it's realized by Buddhas alone. It is said only a Buddha and a Buddha can thoroughly master it. It is worth noticing that what you think one way or another is not a help for realization. You must be cautious not to be small-minded. Realization does not depend on thoughts, but comes forth from beyond thoughts. Dogen says, no, think not thinking. You sit in zazen. You keep just letting go at the end of each exhale. Just receiving. It's the samadhi of giving and receiving. It's full circle. Realization is helped only by the power of realization itself. Know then that there is no delusion and there is no realization. Of course there's delusion and there's realization. I mean, we barter in that world, but fundamentally, there's something that happens, and Dogen calls it dropping body and mind, which I think we do have a taste of. It's like the whole world is Buddha's body. It's you're completely you, but you're so much more than that, and you know it. And then, of course, you forget it because yourself reasserts itself and says, well, ha ha ha, you thought. The entire universe is nothing but the Dharma body. The entire universe is the true human body. The entire universe is the gate of liberation. The entire universe is the eye of Vairocana. The entire universe is the Dharma body of the self. It's your true body. Okay, here's one more. Long ago, a monk asked an old master, when hundreds, thousands, or myriad objects come all at once, do you have a sense of what it's like the whole world is just right here, and it's close, and it's intimate, and the whole world is alive, and process, and dynamic. What should be done? You want to know?
Yep.
Not a slight nod of the head. The master replied, don't try to control them. Whatever he means it is in whatever way objects come, in whatever way life comes and arises towards you. Do not try to change them. It's Buddha's body. The way is not a matter of your knowing or not knowing. The way is not a matter of your knowing or not knowing. So, bodhisattvas, why don't you just turn towards somebody next to you, and I'm going to put you guys in little twos. How do you live in this world and not